Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Peapod, which is a podcast about peace. I'm Teri Angel, also known as Mama Peace, and I'm delighted that you've chosen to be here today to spend some time with us. Before I get into the podcast, I would just like to dedicate this particular session today to a dear friend, Jeannie Reardon. I met Jeannie in Boulder, Colorado a few years ago, and she became a dear friend. She was very special. She was an artist, so she had a real flair about her. And not the last time, but one of the last times I saw her was at her husband's memorial service. She walked in the door, I greeted her at the door, and she was wearing this boa, and I just fell in love with it. And I just complimented her on it, told her how much I loved it and how beautiful she looked in it. And she took it off and gave it to me. So I feel like I'm supposed to wear this today in honor of Jeannie. And Jeannie, I know you're hearing us and love you so much. And I know your presence is going to leave a big hole there in Boulder, Colorado. So many blessings to our Jeannie Reardon. Imagine with me for a moment a world without constant conflict, a world where respect for diversity is the norm, a world where understanding replaces fear. I know it sounds utopian, but that's the world we dare to dream of, and that's the world we strive to build here, one conversation at a time on the Peapod. Here at the Peapod, we believe peace isn't just the absence of conflict, it's the presence of justice, it's the celebration of diversity, and most importantly, it's something that begins within each one of us. Every breath we take, every step we make can be filled with peace, joy, and serenity. That is from Thich Nhat Hanh, one of my special people that I look up to and learn from. I'd like to share with you the message that the angels gave me last night in meditation. Dear ones, as you walk the path to manifesting your dreams, know that challenges are not roadblocks, but instead are stepping stones. They test your determination, refine your intentions, and pave the way for growth. Embrace these challenges with grace. This is the transformation of your soul. It is the dance between your intentions and the universe's response, the harmony between your actions and divine guidance. Embrace the spirituality within you, dear ones, and harness the power of your thoughts. Let the magic of manifestation happen in every moment of your existence. So let's begin this journey of manifesting peace in our world, shall we? Here at the Peapod, we don't have all the answers, but we promise to ask the right questions. So welcome once again to the Peapod, your podcast on peace, and let's dive right in. I would like to introduce, and you all know her well, MarBeth Dunn, who is the co-founder and co-director of 10 Million for World Peace. MarBeth, thank you for being here with me today.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here as always, Teri. You know, I love being here and I love peace.
Absolutely. We have special guests today. The first I'm going to introduce is Lis Williams. Elizabeth Williams is a social entrepreneur, philanthropist, writer, aficionado of all things energy, and founder of All Partners. Liz believes the collapse of outdated structures and systems and the rise of the divine feminine and higher consciousness on the planet is providing a powerful opportunity for us to co-create a new future that supports all of humanity and our precious Mother Gaia. Women's compassion, creativity, voices, and brilliance are needed now more than ever, and women will lead the way forward. Liz serves on the board of Consciousness and Healing Initiative, is a consultant for and community member of Mary Magdalene's School in Vazelay, France, and has recently collaborated with Anne Baring to bring forth the urgent call to all humanity. War and violence stops now. Welcome Liz, to the Peapod.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with both of you. It's just a joy and pleasure.
We're so happy to have you. And then we have our darling Sheila Cash. Sheila's a special friend that I've known for a few years now, and I just want to share some things about Sheila. She is the CEO of Evoke Your Life LLC. As the new human master coach for the last 25 years, Sheila has been leading conscious groups through the embodiment of the frequency of peace, as well as trainings in multidimensional cognition, including sensory development, universal perception, precognitive future orientation, and a proprietary 5-level mind-body integration system based on neuroplasticity and epigenetics. Sheila has facilitated many panel discussions on deep mind topics and the embodiment of peace for World Unity Week and other global conferences, and co-produced the Creatrix Convergence Summit, highlighting 35 plus feminine leaders and their humanitarian work around the planet. Her #1 best-selling book, Evolve Your Life, and Success Breakthroughs, co-authored with Jack Canfield, profile the new human, who we need to be in this rapidly evolving age of unprecedented new challenges. Her visionary super consciousness think tank seeks new solutions for new times in 2023 and beyond. Welcome, Sheila.
Thank you. It's really wonderful to be here with all of you.
Wow, what a great gathering of the divine feminine here today.
Indeed.
Oh, I just love it. Well, ladies, the topic is peace. And I know that we're all working for that. We all have projects going on and things that we're doing. And I would just like for you to take some time and explain what's happening in your world. I want our listeners to be introduced to you in a way that they may want to collaborate and take part in what's happening. So, whichever one wants to start, jump right in there.
Well, you want me to go, Sheila? Okay. And yeah, Sheila and I have co-created. We co-created the Creatrix Convergence. So it's so wonderful. There's been so much integration already with us here, but it's great to be with all of you. So yes, all three have been involved in this project, and so I'll just talk a little bit about this urgent call to all humanity. About 6 months ago, I was reading one of Anne Baring's books called The Dream of the Cosmos, The Quest of a Soul. And in it, I was reading the chapters about war on the planet, and they're very compelling. And I had remembered that we had interviewed her during the Creatrix Convergence, and I remembered that her belief was that if we could get all mothers and grandmothers of the world to say no more to war, we could end it forever. So as I was reading those chapters, I recalled that and decided to reach out to her just to ask if it had ever been tried. When I reached her, she immediately responded and said she was in the process of publishing some channeled messages that her mother had began receiving during World War II. The messages continued for 25 years, and they were very much a forewarning that if life on the planet continued in the way it was, with the development of weapons that would ultimately be our destruction, then in fact we would lose everything that we know. Her mother was in a place where she couldn't really do much about it other than take note of all these messages. But she felt that if she were to go out and say that she was receiving channelings and this was the message, they would lock her up. So she didn't do anything with them other than to take note of them. And then Anne received them upon her death. And Anne didn't immediately do anything with them either. But recently she had been so disturbed by everything that's happening in Ukraine, not to mention around the world, that she decided it was time to publish them. So she was in that process when I reached out to her, and she said, yes, it's definitely time for us to do something. An interesting side note is that later that day, I realized that it was Mother's Day in the UK when I reached out to her, and that I was not aware of it, and Anne lives in the UK. So we really felt it was a message from Divine Mother or Mary Magdalene to say, the time is now. We decided to create something called the urgent call to grandmothers and mothers and grandmothers around the world, that war and violence stops now. As we started to put that urgent call out, we had women saying, well, what if I'm not a mother or a grandmother? And so we said, okay, maybe this needs to be the urgent call to all women. And then we had men say, but we want to be involved too. So we've adjusted it a bit to say this is an urgent call to all humanity. War and violence stops now. The way we've been getting this out is through the 99 Days of Peace, that is part of World Unity Week. It's the, I guess, second chapter to World Unity Week. We are getting close to the final days of those 99 days, but we have held 3 gatherings. The third one was today, and we'll hold one more in September. And the purpose of the gatherings was collaboration. We did not believe that it was our mission to create another nonprofit or even another peace initiative per se, but rather by bringing together particularly women-led peace initiatives from around the globe to come together, to collaborate, to share what we're doing, to get the word out, and to really just gain support for each of our missions individually and collectively, that would be the best use of our energies. And so, as I said, we had the third gathering today. We'll have one more during Peace Week of next month, and actually Sheila's got an add-on to that. But all of us have been in those circles. They are powerful. They've grown each time we've come together, and we're really excited about what may come forth from this initiative, this mission.
So beautiful. I'm so happy to be a part of that, and honored that I was invited to be a part of it. And it's all of it is working together. You know, we're all in alignment with this energy of bringing in peace in our world. So I'm just thrilled to hear that that's happening.
Well, agreed, Teri. And I, the timing was so interesting because around the time that we were creating this, I noticed that you and MarBeth had created this new Facebook group, the 10 million for meditators. And I thought, well, that is so interesting how this is happening. So I knew that we would be connecting. And so as soon as we had something that we could invite folks to, we reached out to you immediately. So great to have all of you. And then Sheila has always been we co-create so well together, and brought her in. She's been so helpful in kind of holding down the foundation for us. And now we'll see where we go from here.
I can't wait to hear.
Me too.
So, yes, I mean, as Liz said, we've been co-creating in many different ways. I have been inspired by the peace movement for as long as I can remember. One of the earliest supports that I got involved with was the Peace Alliance, peacealliance.org, which started back in 2004, and I was, really on fire at that point. And that was an organization that Marianne Williamson co-founded. And I had gone to a rally in DC when she was hosting. There was just a few hundred people there at that time. And Steven Tyler was on the stage with her, and I was sort of, just a few feet from him, and he was singing by himself on the stool on the stage. So it was a ways back. I've supported, other kind of local efforts in the years since then. And then when this came up with Lis and with Anne, and Anne was someone that we had interviewed a year ago with the summit, and I was aware of her story. And I said to Lis, I said, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it in my heart. So as she said, I'm helping out with her and co-hosting, and we'll be brainstorming on, helping move the direction forward for that group. On my own, I facilitate gatherings very frequently on the embodiment of the frequency of peace at the deepest levels. In my superconscious think tank, we spend time moving into the deepest consciousness on where the human spirit is and what our spirit, our collective human spirit is seeking in peace. to get a better understanding of where is the disconnect, where are the blocks. And so now I have known Teri, and we had a podcast, and Lis did too, with all of us together a few years ago. And I'm very excited about your 10 million for peace. And we'll be stepping in to help with some meditations later on. And as Lis mentioned, I will be hosting the co-creative creation circle for peace during Peace Week on September 22nd. And in that circle, we have many people jumping in who each have their own individual organizations and efforts toward peace. It's really just a brilliant and beautiful gathering that we're having. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. And I just have to say, Teri, I have been aware of wanting peace since the early days on the elementary school playground, of witnessing the bullying that took place. And in the street, we used to run around on the sidewalks and the streets, but from those earliest days. And I just, my feeling, my heart has always said, treasure life, treasure life in every way. What is this about? So I'm in, I've jumped in with 2 feet. I'm here and just really want to help support in every way that I can.
Oh, thank you, Sheila. So special, and I'm so looking forward to more collaboration with you. And you made me think there for a minute of how long I've been really focused on that energy of wanting peace in our world. And I think for me, it began with President Kennedy's assassination. And that's when my heart just really went out to the world and knew that we needed to come together. We needed to all really just immerse ourselves in wanting to get along more than wanting to kill each other or have that conflict. And I grew up in the years of peace protests and Vietnam War and all of that. So I've always been immersed in that energy of being on the side of wanting to see conflict resolution. So for me, this is just so much an extension of that, to really see now the importance of us ushering in that millennium of peace that we know is coming.
Yes.
And that's what we're doing. And MarBeth, I'd like to ask you to update on the 10 million for world peace that we are so happy to be bringing forth into the world.
Well, I'm excited to say that we are going live with daily meditations this Friday, which is, excuse me, September 1st. We're very excited about it. Our meditations will be live at 1:11 p.m. Eastern, and we have various people who'll be leading meditations, not just Teri and me. Teri and I have been leading weekly meditations on Sundays, but this Friday we're going live, and it's very exciting. I can't wait to see the results. I can't wait to see. We're going to be focusing on world leaders, and we want our leaders to be open-hearted. We want our leaders to be focused on creating peace, on collaboration, on harmony. So let's hope we see results. I'm not even going to say hope. I'm envisioning, I'm feeling, I'm knowing that we're going to see some positive results.
I know we are too. And I know that the message that the angels gave me last night, which I read earlier, it's all about putting that energy into our intention of faith and trust and belief, and then taking the inspired action that we are guided to do from there. And I think that's what we've all heard that call. And we know that this is where we're at now. We're at that road that we're going to step down and really make this happen.
Teri, I went to a psychic fair many years ago, like probably 20 years ago, and I had my fingerprints read. And I was told that they were peace. Every one of them was peace. And she said, this is a very rare type of fingerprint, that it would be peace. But so I guess I've known like all my life that this is really what my calling is. It's all about peace.
Right. Wow. It's so beautiful that there's a lot of the divine feminine that's coming forward right now. Would you all like to talk about that, Sheila and Liz especially? I know you all are real involved in getting the divine feminine gathered together with what you're involved in.
Well, I'll say that, when Liz originally told me that she was getting this gathering together, and I had shared, we had talked previously, she and I, even before we were, moving into the peace movement formally, that, I have always felt that the feminine heart is the heart that births humanity, that nurtures humanity, that brings the comfort and the all of the ingredients that nurtures and sustains life. And it's not in any way to to downgrade what it is that the sacred male brings, because they do bring protection, they are providing, they bring so much. But where peace is concerned, the feminine heart has I want to say a deeper understanding perhaps of the value of life itself, and being very aware that the balance of the masculine and the feminine are needed. That's why the grand design brings almost 50% women and 50% men into the world. And so the balance is needed. But in this particular arena, it's time, I feel that it's time for the feminine heart to stand up, to speak, to lead, and to express the value, just the sheer original value of life itself.
Yeah. I've had such a devotion to the divine feminine since I heard the term. And I think what's so interesting to me is how long it took for me to hear that. And I think that's so significant. I'm sure I'm not alone with that. I grew up Catholic. I went to religious education classes year after year, went to church, all these things. And never was there a focus on the divine feminine, other than it was okay to have a relationship with our divine mother, but certainly we don't worship her. She's not on equal par. She's just, she's the feminine aspect that we're allowed to have a relationship with. So when I heard the divine feminine start to be talked about more as it was coming forth, maybe a decade ago, I immediately was drawn in and I wanted to know more about what does that even mean? And so I started to explore it, reading books, and there were tremendous women authors that were coming forth to bring this information forward. There was the finding of the Gospel of the Beloved Companion, which was Mary Magdalene's Gospel, that was finally published. And there was more information coming out about all of the goddesses worldwide that are in existence. And I think one of the most important things that happened to me was I received an oracle deck, Megan Watterson's Divine Feminine Oracle deck. And I started using it, and I was just blown away at the number of women, the number of goddesses, saints that were female and have been around forever, but never knew about them, never heard their stories. And my thought was, if every little girl on the planet received this oracle deck, the world would change. Because it reminded us of the feminine aspect that had been completely lost, and not accidentally. It was intentional. The patriarchy didn't want us to know about the depth and value of woman, because they knew the power that we hold inherently, and that was a threat. And so it was suppressed for centuries, millennia, really. And it's now coming back. And so I think, as Sheila was saying, there are feminine aspects that are so critical, and they do exist within men and women, but they've been suppressed. But that is the collaboration we've talked about, the power with, not power over, the love, the nurturing, the compassion, the caring, the kindness. All of those are feminine attributes that we really, really need to bring forth now, and to balance with the masculine. And as Sheila said, there is the sacred masculine, there is the divine masculine as well. We need to get away from any toxic feminine and toxic masculine, and focus on the divine aspects of the masculine and feminine. How do we balance those, and how do we bring them forth in the world? So I do believe that it's as powerful as can be. And I do believe that Divine Mother and Mary Magdalene are very much making their presence known, and supporting us as we do see this rise in consciousness and the rise of the divine feminine.
And I'd love to add, just follow on with that, Liz, that we see a trend on the planet within humanity of the feminine aspects rising now, more than since we have known of. Now, this has occurred probably at different times in our human history, but we can see that the feminine aspects are coming into business, even into the home. There are many men. When I was raising my kids, there were a number of men that were at home raising the children while the women were working and traveling around the world. In business, there are many more feminine aspects coming in where, for example, the organization may be more circular, more peer oriented rather than hierarchical, and in other ways. So we are seeing the feminine aspects organically rising in many different sectors of life, and that is for all genders. And I like to say now too, and it's not only the masculine and the feminine, but there are many other genders that are rising up to be recognized. And so I just say, the feminine is coming up in all genders now, which is good. And we are seeing a difference, but it's, we have a long way to go.
Yeah.
MarBeth, do you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I totally believe it's a sacred mission. It seems like with the dawning of the age of Aquarius, it became the time of the divine feminine. That's when things started to shift. The pendulum is definitely swinging back towards the feminine. 2,000 years ago, it suddenly became very masculine oriented, but for thousands of years before that, it was mother goddesses that were basically in the forefront of humanity. And so I think it's just really so beautiful that, yes, the feminine is coming back, but it will bring in a divine balance.
Yeah, I feel like that's where we're headed, is that balance. And I've seen it coming for at least a decade now. There's been more emphasis on the divine feminine. So Liz, you recently spent some time in France and learning more about Mary Magdalene. And I am very interested in her role in this. And I feel like she is here to help us usher in the peace in the world. Can you share what you think about that?
I absolutely agree. And she is so present. So many are hearing messages from her throughout the globe. But yes, I was at the School of Mary Magdalene in Vézelay, France, which is a community I've joined, a spiritual community I've joined. Met Anna and Petra, actually, who founded it a couple of years ago, but we interviewed them as part of our Creatrix Convergence as well. And so when I was able to spend a little bit more time with them, I was really, really drawn to what they're bringing through. I mean, they have essentially opened the channel for her wisdom, as well as many others, to pour through. And they are located in Vézelay, France, and they do retreats there. And so I was able to spend a week in this beautiful, the land is holy, absolutely. And the powerful messages that are coming through while we were together, the ceremonies that we held. It was just absolutely beautiful. But I do believe that Mary Magdalene her message is peace and more. I believe it is a remembering, because you can imagine, the stories that we know when you think about when she was here embodied 2,000 years ago, and the stories of she was the apostle of the apostles. Like, she was the one, because Jesus said she was the one who knows the all. Now, we've never would have heard that story, right? And there was actually jealousy from the men because of their relationship. And they were betrothed. We would never be told that there were children. And so all of it, it's almost as if she's coming back and saying, please tell the truth about my life and who I am and how we are together in this. I mean, we are similar. And so she is the model of the divine feminine that was so suppressed. And now she says, it is time not only for me to rise, but for all women on the planet to rise. And I believe the message is that peace can be restored when that happens. But if that doesn't happen, it can't be restored. We need that balance to return. We need the voice of the feminine to do this. So I just feel, and I know many others do feel, such a presence of her, and a reminder of perhaps our role in previous lives as priestesses of the Magdalene Order, priestesses of Isis. All of the School of Mary Magdalene in Vézelay is considered a modern day mystery school. And what that means is, when in Jesus' time, the mysteries were passed on through these mystery schools. So not everyone could be a part of that because they had to have pure intentions. But this was how all the truths were passed on. And now the opportunity is happening again for us to go through these schools, to be taught of the true mysteries, not what was fabricated, not the stories that we were told, but the real truths. And the truth is how we actually manifest peace on earth. But it's a commitment that we make, and a belief system that we adopt that says, yes, I believe that this is the truth, and I want to be part of this, and I want to remember fully and know what my sacred mission is on the planet.
So beautiful. And I know that I have become more aware of her presence over the last decade, especially. And I'm very interested in hearing more about her leadership and how she's working with us for peace. And speaking of the divine feminine, Sheila, you worked under or with Barbara Marx Hubbard, and you actually are doing teachings now based on your learning from her. And would you talk about that some, about the new human and what you're bringing forth for us as continuation of Barbara's work?
Yes. And it's so interesting because when I discovered conscious evolution, which really just means, a quote from Barbara as a way of describing the field of conscious evolution, is that we are the generation that we know that we can evolve by choice rather than by chance. So that, in the centuries previously, collectively, we were mostly evolving by chance. We're fixing problems, we're moving along, but now we're more conscious than ever before. So it's so interesting, the synchronicities of the universal energies that will direct you. Because the work that I've been doing over the years in sensory development and in the interdimensional channeling and communication, kind of reaching out wider to see what else was there, what kind of wisdom was really available, it led me to her classes many years ago, probably 15 years ago. And when I heard this, as an evolutionary, I said, well, that's what I am. That's what I've always been. I just never heard a name for it before. And it's somewhat difficult sometimes for people to kind of grasp the idea of that we are channeling the evolutionary impulse. So, the evolutionary impulse is just that impulse that it keeps all of life moving along. It keeps our hearts beating. It's that spark of energy, that there's an energy, a universal energy that keeps everything coordinated and growing and expanding and moving along. Um, so when I mentored with her personally a few years before she passed at the age of 80, I believe it was 89 and a half,
Mhm.
um, I was most interested in what I was calling at the time the new human. And I had been working on that for some years. And of course, she um, had been thinking of this and writing about it for a long time. She used the term Homo universalis. Eventually, she added Homo amore universalis. And now we're hearing about the metahuman. Deepak Chopra wrote a book about the metahuman. We are hearing future human. Anna Lou Smitsman is in Jean Houston, who we also interviewed last year, and whose work we are promoting in the Co-Creation Circle for Peace, using the term future human, omni-human, and all of them mean the same thing. And it really is about who do we need to be now? Now that life is changing so dramatically, so rapidly, even in the last few years, the last 5 years, the last 10 years, but even almost now from day to day, life is very different than it has ever been before. And so it just means, really exploring who do we need to be? What are those capacities and skills that we need to develop now? And how far, now that the idea of quantum and the field of quantum reality, quantum mechanics has made its way up to, I don't know if mainstream is the right word. In my world, it's mainstream. I'm not sure about the rest of the world, but it's much more commonly heard of. And in the quantum field, which is a reality, it's science, it's hardcore science. There are other dimensions. I say, the word dimensional, interdimensional doesn't have to be that scary. If you think about um, when you're visioning to do something in the future, even if it's going to the grocery store next week, the future is another dimension. When you're having a memory of the past, when I think about myself on the playground, in elementary school, the past is another dimension. So it's that simple. But there are many, many dimensions, and so there's much more possible now. And that's what the new human is all about. And I had a great fun with Barbara, and we used to even talk almost daily at times. And just really profiling the new human, and it's something that I bring into my work, even in my one-on-one mentoring. We're really bringing that through. Who are we now? Where do we want to be? And what is that shift in consciousness that can get us there?
And I just add, I think we really feel Barbara's presence still, and I know so many do. We're convinced that it was her idea to do the online summit, the Creatrix Convergence. She was in fact, we shared an interview with her that was done, obviously, before she deceased, but she was included in that summit for sure.
I love that. So, ladies, we have a few minutes left on the show. How can people really become involved, not just pray about it, meditate on it? What are some of the things that you see that we can do actively to bring more peace into our lives and into the world?
Well, I would love to touch on that because I hear so often, well, in the work that I did where I was really educating women on how to make their authentic impact in the world. So often women will say, I don't have anything to give, which always broke my heart to hear that. And I think it can also be intimidating sometimes when you see people on a podcast and they've all created initiatives and this type of thing and think I'm never going to do that. But I think we are at such a pivotal time now where everyone's gifts and talents are needed and no one is excluded. And so it really is one of the things, Sheila, see if you remember this, but one of the things that came out so clearly when we did our interviews during the summit last year was how many of the women we interviewed said, I heard a calling and I said yes. Mm-hmm. I had no idea how I was going to carry it out or fulfill it. Mm-hmm. I just said yes. And that was so profound because so many of us understandably might hear that calling, but don't say yes because they think I'm not ready. I don't even know what to give. I wouldn't know where to begin. Mm-hmm. But those that are doing it, they didn't know what they were going to do either. They just decided to say yes anyway. So right now, for example, with what we're co-creating in this circle of co-creating peace, anyone is invited. Everyone is invited to come in, listen to the various initiatives that are out there. Don't think that you have to start a nonprofit. As I said, we have, I hate to say it, but too many nonprofits, particularly in the United States. We have so many. Don't start another one. Find one that's aligned with what you believe your sacred mission is and support them with your time, talent, or treasure. And so that means if you don't think you have enough money, see if you can volunteer. If you don't have time to volunteer, but you have a specific skill you can share, do that. But figure out how to get involved and just say yes. And again, if it's an organization that's worth your time and effort, they are going to welcome you in with open arms. So you do not have to be concerned. But just find the area that you are most drawn to. Just choose one to start with and then identify some organizations that are doing good work and just make your way in. They will love to have you. So that's my advice on how to get involved. Don't wait.
Yes, and I do remember them saying yes to their calling, and I remember that many of them, especially in certain countries around the world, had a fight to be able to step in, had to overcome being ostracized, being dominated, even in order to kind of break through. So inspiring, so inspiring. Mm-hmm. I think I'd like to just touch on the angle that so many people have no idea what peace is. And through my mentoring, through the groups and the summits and the conferences, I really came to understand that so many people, and they even told me this as well, they haven't felt peace. So they don't know what peace is. I remember, and you may remember this, Lis, in the first think tank a few years ago. One of our members said that she was describing a period of time where she had retired, so she was out of work, or happily so. But she began to feel that she was depressed, that she was in a period of depression. And as she sat with that, she eventually realized through her own spiritual practices that she was actually feeling peace. But because she had never known it, she'd never known it, she was thinking that it was depression for quite a while. She wasn't able to identify or recognize it as peace because it was calm, it was quiet. And she didn't know what to call it. She didn't know what that was. I thought that was so incredibly profound and very telling. We don't see much peace in the headlines or in the news stories. Many people were not raised in peaceful households. So if we don't know what peace feels like, how can we be peace? And that's what my process of the deep embodiment of the energies and physical frequencies and the emotions of peace is about. It's about going deep enough to bring up, and I say, our imaginations are an incredible tool for transformation. We're one of the only species that can have imaginations. And if you haven't felt peace before, or strength, or any other frequency, you can imagine it. You can imagine it in your mind, and with a lot of practice, you can get closer and closer to it. And then we bring it in and we say, what does peace feel like in your heart? And it can take a lot of repetition, a lot of practice to get there, depending on what kind of life you've had. But, what does it feel like in your mind? What does it feel like in your bones? And we go into the bones, the blood, the intercellular to say, what does it feel like? So that in the more that this becomes a spiritual practice, the more familiar your body and your mind becomes to that. You can acclimate to a different energetic field. You can acclimate. You can begin to know it, and then you start to recognize it outside of you. You can say, "Oh, now I can see peace there. I can see it there," where we may have been blind to it before. Um, and so it's, I really would advocate the practice of learning what peace is within, deeply within the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, so that then we can really spread peace. And then wholeheartedly, as Lis said, then step in, step in with it, no matter what it takes. So from the inside to the outside.
Amen. Aho.
Beautiful advice. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's true. So many people do not know what peace is.
Mm-hmm.
It's more than the absence of war.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it correlates with happiness.
Mm-hmm.
You can think about happiness as a way of being more peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
There are many, many different ways to reach it. And every person has their own life experiences. And and so just really diving in and getting to that truth. When Lis was talking about that, we want to get to the truth of the stories now. And it's the same with peace as well. It's like, it's all bound together in one energetic field. We want to get to the truth of what peace is.
Mm-hmm.
Not what even we're told that it is, but what is it really? And that way we can spread the energy.
Beautiful. I can't remember which one of you mentioned about nonprofits and getting behind a nonprofit that you can resonate with. MarBeth and I started our organization as a nonprofit. And MarBeth, do you want to share Dr. Sean O'Leary's concept of how people can get involved in helping to make this a reality?
Absolutely. Father Sean O'Leary is a wonderful Irish priest who spent probably a decade and a half in Swaziland in Africa, wrote his first book in Swahili, and his website is spiritsinSpacesuits.com.
Mm-hmm.
So he's quite an interesting person. He's also a mathematician. He had a degree as a mathematician. And he said, you can easily acquire 10 million followers if every one of you reaches 10 people and gets 10 people to commit. And those 10 people get 10 people to commit to being part of this process. After 7 iterations, we would be at 10 million, but there might be some overlap. So in order to be sure, you would need 8 iterations. So tell your friends, get them to commit to doing just a 7-minute meditation with us, a guided meditation that uplifts you and takes you into the field of love and peace, a unified field of love and peace and miracles. And then from there, we focus on our planet with love and peace. We extend it. And then we focus on world leaders, again, with appreciation and love. They don't get enough appreciation. We may not agree with them, but we can certainly send appreciation and love and intend that they open their hearts to lead with peace, to lead with love and collaboration and awareness, to shift their focus to something very positive for our planet. Even, at the local levels, all of these leaders can be guided through our intention for something more positive. And, anybody who says, well, I'm just one person, what can I do? You can join us 7 minutes a day. Let your people, your friends know about it.
Yeah, to me, it's like if you were watching a beautiful sunset or sunrise or looking at a mountain range and you hold that energy and you just are loving on it. You want other people to experience that as well. You want them to feel what you're feeling inside. And that's how it is for me with peace. Yeah, to hold that energy in our hearts. We want other people to feel it and to share it and to set that intention that we're going to reach the masses to feel that energy of peace and to really want it in the world. And it's so simple, just like this little calculation. It's so simple to reach others. So I'm excited about all that we're doing, all the work and the collaboration. So I just want to ask if each of you would take a minute and if there's any last thoughts, any last things that you'd like to share, please do that for our listeners. And I so appreciate all of you being here today.
No, thank you all. It's just so beautiful to be together. I think the only last thing I'd say, and we talked about, it's the inner peace to the outer peace. But I would say if you're in circumstances that you really don't have the time to give in any way, which is fine. We all have circumstances like that at times in our lives. But what you can do is go within and is find that peace within your own heart. And when you do that, it will shift everything, not only in your own life, but in the world and in your family. You'll see it in your communities and in the world. So know that that's the beauty of this. And I love also just this idea of meditating as well. It's free, it's easy, you can do it anytime. And so just if you could commit to just that, saying, I just want to feel, as Sheila, I thought it was so beautiful. I want to feel peace within. And so I'm going to commit to doing what I can to feel that. Start a minute a day and move to 2 or 3. Just any little bit is going to shift things for you and for others. So please do. Please say yes to that.
Please say yes. And I think I would just add, I mentioned earlier, I my kind of mantra is just treasure life, because that's what it's all about. What are we making peace for? We're making peace for life itself, for each one of our lives, for the uniqueness of each person, peace for those who are struggling desperately, peace for everyone on earth, and peace for the animals as well, peace for the earth itself. So to really take a moment to contemplate and bring that into your spiritual practices. Why, what is peace, but why? Why do we want peace? We want peace because we want life. and why can't we all, just remember the precious gift of life, and let us treasure that, and let us follow our why of treasuring life.
Beautiful.
And peace also is a feeling of safety, of knowing that you're covered, that we've got your back, you're safe, and you're allowed to be who you are. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing to know, like, yes, I can be myself. I can be my greatest self. I can be my magnificent self. And it's okay. I'm not going to be hurt because I am. I'm feeling peaceful. I know that I'm okay.
Beautiful. It's a choice.
Always.
Well, I would like to end the show tonight with a mantra, a peace mantra that I just learned today from a guest who was on Liz's circle that I attended earlier. His name is Steve Gardiner. And this is the mantra: peace in my heart, peace in this place, peace in our land, and peace throughout the world. Peace. I love that. And just saying that feels so awesome, doesn't it? Hearing those words, thinking that thought, that it starts in the heart. That's where it all begins. So I pray that each one of us and all who are listening can stay in your heart. Because when we get out of our hearts, we start thinking about other things besides peace. But if we stay in our hearts, that's where true love is, pure love. It's unconditional. And then we know that we can reach that place of peace. Thank you. I appreciate every one of you being here today, and our listeners that were joining in. Thank you for watching, and hopefully you'll share this out because the energy was so beautiful today, and I want everyone, as many as possible, to be able to enjoy it. So I appreciate you all. Thank you very much for being here with us on the Peapod. We'll be back next Tuesday, and don't forget, September 1st at 1:11 p.m. Tune in. MarBeth will be leading the guided meditation. Only 7 minutes out of your day. Come in and join with us to really change the world. That's what we're doing right now. We're bringing change into the world. So we love you, we thank you, and we bless you. And we wish you a good night. Bye, everyone.